one.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Cooking with the Hobsons. Today is Good Friday, so I didn't really want to go live on Instagram, but I thought I'd still record it because what I'm going to make for us today is actually really delicious, and we'll put it up on our brand new YouTube channel, which is, of course, Cooking with the Hobsons. So we're going to make a fish pie today because it is an English,
It's worldwide tradition, Friday.
Yeah, for Good Friday to eat fish,
Yeah.
but like the fish pie particularly is quite English.
Okay.
So we would normally eat seafood on Good Friday anyway, but we usually go with mussels in like a white wine sauce or a tomatoey red wine sauce. But today I just thought let's do a fish pie, but with a little bit of a twist. So let's go straight to the ingredients. So there's my coffee for this morning. We're going to start with potatoes, because we will have potatoes in it. It's just going to be a side though, along with this broccoli.
Just normal potatoes, right?
Yeah, just whatever potatoes you have is fine. And some sweet corn as well. We're going to boil the potatoes in some salt and obviously hot water. Then we're going to mash them, and we're going to add a little bit of sour cream and whole grain mustard to that, because I think it's going to just give it a little bit of a bite, which will be delicious.
And
then here we've got some seafood. So the seafood mix in here is already cooked, and I've just added some sea bass to it so that it is a full seafood pie. Then over here for our roux, we have self-raising flour. I think that's 25 grams of butter, and 25 grams. You don't want that much nutmeg. We're just going to add a sprinkle of nutmeg.
Nutmeg challenge.
And a little bit of warm milk. It's about, I think it's 250 mils. The reason we've made the milk warm is because it helps the roux to cook without going lumpy.
Any kind of milk.
Any milk. You could substitute that for a almond milk or something like that. You could substitute the butter for a olive oil spread, which would make it vegan. And then we've got some fresh parsley, some chilies, some salt, obviously. The traditional fish pie is made with a a potato mash topping, and then maybe some cheese or something on top. But we're actually going to make it with puff pastry on top. That's what we've got here, puff pastry. Is there a hack?
I mean, is this the trick? I mean, you said there's something different, a twist, I mean. Oh,
no, the twist is that we're adding, it's a whole seafood range instead of just fish.
I was waiting for the bit.
And then the next bit, this is also a bit of a twist, is that we're using puff pastry instead of mashed potato on top, because we are having mashed potato, but that's going to be on a side. Then while we were planning it all, we realized we don't have a pastry brush, and so Izzy did a little bit of research, and so for our egg wash we're going to use a toothbrush. They said either use a toothbrush or a paper towel. But because I don't think my pastry will survive a paper towel because it's quite soft. We've decided to use a toothbrush, but Izzy insisted that we put it on the camera like this so people realize that it's a brand new toothbrush, not one of our toothbrushes. Nice. So let's get straight into it, because this shouldn't take long at all.
And how many are we cooking for?
We're just cooking for 2 of us.
So this amount here is perfect for 2?
Well, it's a bit more. I think this would suit 3 people, 3 adults.
Okay.
But there's 2 of us in the house, so that's all we're cooking for.
Nice.
So we'll start with our potatoes. We want the potatoes to boil.
How many potatoes?
So I've just got 3 potatoes here. And so I'm just going to throw that straight into the water. And I'm just going to let that boil. And that shouldn't take too long. That's on a high heat, so I'll just move that for you. And then on a medium heat, we're going to add our butter.
How much?
And that's 25 grams of butter, 25 grams of flour. So let's
plain, right?
I'm using self-raising flour, but that's because that's what I had in the fridge. But you can literally use anything, and we're just going to mix that up really well. And we're going to let that cook for a little while, because you want to cook that floury taste out of it.
You left the pan on for a while before?
It's not necessary. It's just because I was a little bit prepared.
Okay.
I was getting ready, so I turned the pan on just to give it. So you're just going to let that cook for a little bit. And while you add it, just add a tiny bit of your milk. Remember, you're adding your milk little bit by little bit. I'm just going to turn that down because the pan has preheated quite a bit. Okay, I'm just going to go in with a lot more of my milk now.
Okay, they're not all.
But not all of it. Just enough to start I've actually made roux a lot of times in my life, and sometimes it just doesn't turn out. So if you finish it and it's a little bit lumpy,
that's all now, right?
That's all the milk now.
Yeah.
If you finish it and it's not quite enough mixture, or it's a little bit lumpy, feel free to add some more water. Like, I'm just going to put a little bit of water in this container, and have it ready to go.
Well, it's hard to make, right?
It's very simple to make. You literally saw me make that in 10 seconds. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt to that, and obviously pepper goes really well with roux as well. And I'm just going to add some nutmeg as well.
And this is like 1 teaspoon.
That was probably, yeah, let's say about 1 teaspoon, and then keep mixing that. See, look how beautiful that's gotten. Getting thicker. The other thing you could do is actually, if you want to add a bit more water to it because it's a little bit too thick, you could, so I'm just going to turn this so the steam is going a different way. You could actually add, just so you know guys, I've turned that all the way down to 4. You could add a little bit of water with a fish cube. So you could add some fish stock to that with a little bit of water. I'm not going to, because I'm actually going to cook my seafood in there, so it'll get quite a fishy flavor anyway.
You just put in
just 1 cube in your extra water, whatever that extra water is. I imagine it'd be about 250 mils, so that's another cup of water. And just let that cook like that. You can see it getting thicker already. So I'll add a little bit more water, just because I want a little bit more mixture, so that it covers all my fish.
You can use anything.
You can use whatever fish you like. Traditionally, you'd use like, say, 3 different kinds of fish. So maybe some sea bass, some salmon, and some, I don't know, whatever you can get. Some, what's it called? Some
cod?
Yeah, some cod. So you could traditionally, that's what you could use, a mixture of some fish. I just said fishes. A mixture of some fish, and then cut them all up. Smoked fish has such a beautiful flavor in something like this. So I would go with at least one of your fish being smoked, and traditionally that would probably be your salmon. But that would be an absolutely divine addition.
If you don't like fish, can you just avoid the recipe, or you could use this for like chicken, or
you could do the same base recipe, yeah, and you could add chicken, or I was talking to my sister before, and she was making something very similar to this, but with leek and mushroom.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be all vegan, and then she'll put the puff pastry on top, or the pastry on top. I don't know if they're going puff pastry or not. I'm just going to keep adding water. So what I've ended up adding is 250 mils of water, 250 mils of milk. And that will just keep thickening. Might turn that up just a little bit, just to let it thicken a bit quicker. And in the meantime, let's just check on our potatoes. So they're boiling nicely.
1 potato?
3 potatoes. So to check if they're ready, you can just put a fork in it and see if it is soft in the center. That's still got a little bit to go. But it shouldn't take long because of how small we've cut it. I haven't put any salt in there because I'll probably put quite a bit of salt in my roux. And then I'll probably season it again if I feel like it needs a bit more seasoning. So I haven't bothered to add any salt to that, which is fine. Like, it doesn't have to. I've added the rest of that water there, so that's all done. I'm going to turn that up high just to let that cook. You also want to cook out that, I guess, that floury aftertaste that you get in roux sometimes. So it doesn't hurt to let this cook for 5 to 10 minutes on a low heat to try and get to give it a little bit of time. But remember that it will once it starts thickening, it thickens really, really quickly. So don't take your eye off it. Coffee break.
So you can get all the recipes now, all the videos on YouTube, Cooking with the Hobsons.
That's right.
The live videos on Instagram, and all the photos and the recipes
are also on our Instagram.
Yeah, Cooking with the Hobsons.
That's it.
And people have already started making some of those.
Yeah, which is really cool. It's not really like it's like the most crazy inventive recipes, but that's what I love about it. It's really simple, classic recipes that my cameraman is reaching for his coffee so carefully. But that's like really simple, easy recipes that you can just whip up at home. I'm trying to pick only recipes that just get done really quickly, just because I know that a lot of people, I mean, at this point in time in quarantine, we're not time poor, but a lot of people are time poor in their everyday, day-to-day life. And I just don't, I want to show people that you can still cook really beautiful, fresh food within reasonable amounts of time. So that's boiling and that's thickening. I'm just going to pop my finger in there and try to see if it's got, ouch. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's got plenty. That's really good seasoning. I was not expecting that, which is kind of bad. Like, I should expect that my
This
seasoning.
should be like peppery tasting.
No, more almost like a buttery, creamy taste.
Alright.
Yeah? And then I haven't put any pepper in there. I might put some pepper in there at the end.
Here?
So here we've got a seafood mix. So we've got, what are these called again? Mussels, calamari.
Yep.
Prawns, and you can see they're all cooked, so it's only the fish that's raw. So actually what I should have done was kept them separate, cook the fish in there first, but that's okay, it won't take long to cook. So I'm gonna, and some sea bass as well, so I'm just gonna dump that all in, and I'm actually going to turn that all the way down to 3 and just give that a few moments to
you made
cook.
this a lot before?
Never. But do you know what? I think with cooking, if you know the basics, it's not that hard. Like, if you know the basics of how to, if you know the basics, it's actually really easy to sort of pick up everything else. So I know most of the basics of cooking thanks to my mother. And then I tend to do a little bit of research, and then I like to add my own twist to things. So like, I like the idea of a fish pie. But why just have fish? Or you could have a whole array of seafood. So that's just for me. That's like a nice twist to it. And I love, like, I'm happy to eat mashed potato, but I feel like I'm just eating it like, you know, that shepherd's pie style. So I was like, why can't I have some puff pastry with it instead? So just think about, like, what is it that you like? What do you enjoy eating? What do you enjoy cooking? So that fish is actually almost done already. It won't take long at all. That's been about... Fish cooks very, very quickly, especially if what it's been put in is quite hot already. So that's why, like, I always think, when you're making something like, say, a seafood marinara, you cook all your sauce and you make sure it's almost the point where it's ready, then throw your seafood in, because it won't take long to cook. So you don't want to overcook it.
Are we going to cook marinara one day?
Yeah, definitely. I actually only used half the packet of the seafood, so I'm going to use the other half to make a marinara probably next week, which I think will be... and I got some really nice, some of my favourite pasta. What's
traditional for Easter in, like, when you were growing up?
Yeah, fish, I think. I think my parents have always bought, like, really good quality fresh fish and cooked it on the barbecue or baked it. So we'd eat fish and we'd eat all seafood quite often. I remember as a kid, Dad even made us this, he made us a really beautiful seafood marinara, but he put like octopus in it as well, and like crab meat and just everything. So we have always had quite a bit of fish. So I've actually just realized I want to keep this hot water.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is, babe, I'm just gonna go behind you to grab this.
So we've got 2 bass fillets in here.
Yeah, just 2. And then about, I think, I'll have to double check it, but I think it was about 100 or 150 grams of seafood mix, which had mussels, it had prawns, and it had calamari in there. So for my potatoes, I think my potatoes are pretty much done now. So I'm actually going to drain them, but I'm going to keep the water.
What do you need the water for?
Well, it's not that I need it for anything, but it's just that it's hot, and I want to, I just want to keep it on the stove hot for the rest of the veg. So just behind you, I've got a bowl here. So I'm going to pour my potatoes in there, because that's where I'm going to mash them in a moment.
That's 3 potatoes.
That's 3 potatoes. So that's enough for 2 3 adults even, because we're also going to have other veg on the side as well. So I'm just going to put that there.
So you've been fishing
and
before?
then, sorry?
Have you been fishing before?
Yeah, I've been fishing once. It wasn't like, I wouldn't do it again.
Because you didn't catch anything?
Yeah, probably. So then for my mashed potato, I'm actually going to mash it without butter. I'm going to mash it with sour cream and some whole grain mustard. Just some different flavors.
Whole grain kind of stuff.
You can use any mustard you have, but I like whole grain mustard because I actually like the look of it in food.
Dijon?
Yeah, you could use Dijon mustard. There we go. So that's easy enough. I'm just going to mash it with a fork. I do have a potato masher, but I can't.
Your masher is holding the camera, that's what it says.
Sorry?
Your masher is holding the camera.
Oh, no, it's not that. I just don't want to go back behind you and make it difficult for you.
So 3 potatoes.
So 3 potatoes, 1 generous spoon of sour cream, and then 1 teaspoon, again a generous teaspoon of whole grain mustard.
Okay. Mustard is essential?
Nope. You can do whatever you like with it. You could use cream, you could use milk, you could use butter, salt and pepper, whatever you want to. However you like your mashed potato, do that for it. But I love the way it looks with a little bit of the whole grain mustard. I'm just going to wash this.
There's lots of room for customizing it.
Oh, absolutely. I think you can't really go wrong with mashed potato. And you can always, some people like to add cheese, do a cheesy mash. I'm not a big fan of cheese in my mash, but that's always an option, especially if there's kids. I mean, even adults like cheesy mash, but...
Could you use smash?
You could, but why not just make it fresh? So there's our mashed potato that's all ready. And then with that same water, just out of pure laziness, I'm actually going to throw in the... Actually, wait, let me give it a moment.
Okay.
This is already our fish.
So this has been on for about
10 minutes ish. Yeah, about that.
2 bass fillets, seafood mix.
Yeah.
And then it's a roux sauce.
Yeah. Just your typical roux.
Like if you leave the roux, it'll just better.
Yes, it can. So with that, we're just going to move back to our dish, our casserole dish. We're just going to pour. Oh, that wasn't smart. Pour that straight in, like that. It's not a huge amount, but like I said, I'm only cooking for Izzy and I, so I don't want to make.
So what kind of dish is
I
this?
don't want too many.
Just the
That's
casserole.
just a Pyrex casserole dish. Just your standard Pyrex casserole dish. So I'm going to add a little bit more water to this over here, just so that it doesn't boil out completely.
So you're gonna leave that. You don't have to cover
Coffee
it.
break.
You don't have to cover it or.
When I'm finished, we'll bring this over here.
Okay.
And now we can add some
What have we got?
fresh parsley to it.
Can you use like anything? Coriander.
Yeah, but parsley goes so well with seafood. Just gonna mix that in a little bit. Just gives it that like added freshness. I think like cooking with herbs is such a good idea, especially if you can get fresh ones. That's it. All good there. And then for our pastry, we're just gonna.
So you've done this already before we started?
Done what?
The pastry.
I've measured out the pastry so that I know that it'll definitely fit the container. So I'm just gonna spread the pastry out over the container.
And that's just greaseproof paper, right?
That was what the pastry came in.
Oh, okay.
So just like that. And then because it's not full, you can see the pastry sinking a little bit, but that's okay. And then I'm going to cut a few holes into that.
Okay.
Just to give it somewhere for the steam to escape.
Okay.
Cut it there, cut it there. There we go. And then we're gonna do our egg wash.
Okay. Have you done this before?
With a fork and with a toothbrush. Nope. See how it goes. So the reason I don't have a pastry brush, I used to have one, but then
It works though, look.
it seems to do the job. But then the bristles started coming out, and it just, oh no, I ruined my little cross. the bristles started coming out, and it kept leaving it. Yes, babe. I kept finding bristles in my what do you call it? In my cakes at the end, on the outside of them. Sorry, not in my cake. So I was like, oh, I think this needs to go. And then I haven't bothered to replace it, which is just silly.
You don't need to.
Now I regret it. No, I'm not doing this ever again. All right, so that's done.
This method.
I don't recommend this method. And watch, I'm putting this straight into the bin. So never happening again.
It's
and
just
then
a little hack. If you don't have the brush, you can use a new toothbrush.
If you don't have it.
It works.
So, babe, can you open the oven for me? I'm gonna pop that straight in there.
What have you got it on?
I've got it on about 180 degrees.
Guesswork.
On fan forced oven.
Guesswork.
Yeah, a bit of guesswork, but I know about whereabouts it should be. And then for the last part of this,
this is still on, right?
Yep, that's still on. It's just hot water. It's just water. I'm gonna do the broccoli and the corn. I'm just gonna clean up around here a little bit, just because
I was gonna say
it makes the cooking experience much better for me personally when the space is clean. Can I get you to put that back in the cupboard?
Less for me to do after.
Yes, less other side. There we go. All right, that's better. That's better. Now we're talking. Coffee break.
So if you just joined us, what are we making? We're making fish pie. It's Good Friday. So it's fish.
Not live, so we don't have to worry about going over it again.
Yeah, but people skim all the time. You watch YouTube at 10 times the speed. Like fish pie.
That's because I don't have time. I just want to get the general gist of it. So, okay, you're right. Okay, so if you've just joined us, we've just made a fish pie. We've made a basic roux, which is just butter, what do we call it? Butter, flour, and some milk. We've used 250 mils of milk and 250 mils of water. I would just suggest using maybe only, that's a total of 500 mils. So I'd probably only suggest using about 350 mils because my roux was a little bit watery. And we've
room for improvement.
Yes, there is. And we've put we've put a pastry over the top instead of your traditional mashed potato. But we have made a mashed potato, which is going to be our side, and we've mashed that with some
whole grain mustard.
Some whole grain mustard and some sour cream. And then the other two sides we're going to have here. We're going to just pop in some broccoli. I said cauliflower. Whoops.
All the recipes and stuff are on the Instagram, right?
Yeah, on Cooking with the Hobsons. Coffee break.
And YouTube is Cooking with the Hobsons as well.
And when that's been on for probably about 2-3 minutes.
Or we got you like 1 cup.
Yeah, or maybe a bit more than that actually. When that's been on for a couple of minutes, I'm going to throw in the corn. The reason I'm going to throw in the corn last minute is because it's just it's just frozen corn.
Just frozen corn.
And it's just about, I don't even know how big this measurement is. I'd say about a cup, but just depends on how many people are eating it. Yep. So it's just frozen corn, so it doesn't need to be in there for long. It's just in there to defrost.
And you've got this on
to add the heat. I've got this on a high heat. I've boiled the water already. And you can actually, now would be a good time to add a bit of salt to it.
Pinch, right?
Just a generous pinch. Great. Put that over here and just let that cook. I'm just going to let that come to a boil.
So are you open to suggestions for what we're going to cook, or
yeah, of
you
course.
already have?
I know what I'm
all planned out, ready?
like cooking and what I want to cook.
Look at that clean oven.
But I'm always open to suggestions. No, don't look in there yet. I'm always open to suggestions. So once that comes to a boil, you want to have a look at that?
So some broccoli.
Yep, just some broccoli. We're going to throw in the...
So when that's boiling, then you're going to throw in the corn.
Yep.
And then we don't need this anymore.
No, we don't need the egg. That was just for the top of the pastry.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this should...
If you're wondering why the toothbrush is there.
We used a toothbrush, a brand new toothbrush. Obviously, that's how we kept in the packet to prove to you that it was brand new. We used the toothbrush as a pastry brush because I realized as we were preparing this that I didn't have a pastry brush. And after much extensive research done by Mr. Hobson, we realized that, so I didn't have a pastry brush. So after extensive research done by Mr. Hobson, we realized that we could use a toothbrush. But we wanted to make it clear to our watchers, our viewers,
synchronized
our
watches,
viewers, that it was a brand new toothbrush. So that's why the whole packet is out.
So why'd you have to use a blue one? Blue's my color, now I have to use purple.
Yeah, well, Life's tough sometimes, mate. So that's boiling. That's going to be ready pretty soon. I'm just going to throw in the frozen corn. Give that time to.
So you wait until we're bubbling.
Yep.
It's boiling.
Yeah. But just try it. Like most people know how to make steamed veg.
Not me.
That's because I always make a steamed veg for you. So just try it, and if you're happy with it, then you're good to go. Some people like their veg with a crunch. Some people like their veg without a crunch. So
this is going at the side of the food.
This is just a side, yeah.
So you could have anything.
You could have anything. You could have carrots. You could have beans. You could have whatever you want. You can add to your meal. Okay. So that will be that. I'm pretty sure this will be ready in about 30 seconds.
And mashed potato is best, or like you can have any kind of potato.
Well, the reason we use mashed potatoes is because traditionally fish pie has a mashed potato topping. We've just decided to use a puff pastry topping this time. But because it traditionally has mashed potato, we haven't used mashed potato on our fish pie. I just thought it'd be nice to have mashed potato on the side instead. So coffee break.
So did you like have a lot of pies growing up? Does your mum make pies?
Yes, my mum and dad both made pies. I remember having pies growing up. Do you know what? I don't make pies because I really struggle to get the bottom of the, like if you make a sausage roll or pie, just to get the bottom crispy. I always feel like it gets a bit soggy. Okay. And that's just me. Like I'm not a good baker. I'm better at making savory food, but yeah, you can. I did grow up having pies made lovingly by my parents. More like pasties.
You didn't eat them all.
But I don't usually venture into the baking realm, apart from my banana bread every once in a while. So that is ready. So I'm just going to pour that into a...
We're going to do the banana bread, right? One day on the...
Yeah, well that is on Cooking with the Hobsons.
Okay. It's already there, right?
A banana bread with a cinnamon and walnut crumble. I love crumble. So like the thought of having crumble on my banana bread is such a treat. So there's our steamed veg. That's all ready to go. So funny enough, I've actually usually quite good at having everything ready at the same time, but I think I've finished my sides a little bit too quickly because my pie is still in the oven baking. Okay. But that is okay.
So how long would you recommend for the pie? Or you
so
just going by sight?
I'm going by sight. So when it's like, because it's puff pastry, it's quite easy to tell. Once it's all puffed up and golden, then it's pretty much ready. But if you want a time, I would say, so far we've had it in there for about, 5 minutes? Yep. So I reckon in another 10 minutes, it will be ready. So I'm just gonna clean this stove up a little bit, because, I like a nice, clean workspace.
What's the worst thing that could go wrong at this time?
I think the worst that could go wrong is at the beginning when you're making the fish, when you're making the roux, sorry.
That's the trickiest bit then.
I think for most people that would be the trickiest bit. Once you've got the roux and you're happy with the consistency of it, because like even I wasn't 100% happy with the consistency of my roux, but once you've got your roux and you're happy with the consistency of it, everything else is really, really easy, because after that it's just adding the fish and allowing that to cook, which is such an easy part of the cooking process, because fish cooks quite quickly, and the seafood mix we used was pre-cooked, so it was really just heating that up.
Right. Does it have to be puff pastry though?
I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend puff pastry. I wouldn't put short crust pastry on the top of a pie like this. But you can use whatever pastry, and if you can make your puff pastry, even better. Like I can't make puff pastry. Like I said before, I'm not much of a baker. So
don't put yourself down, Yvonne. You can do it.
So making my own pastry is like, gives me nightmares. But if you can make your own pastry, then that is amazing. So guys, we're just going to, let's stop it there.